We're back to episode 2 on a Friday night. You thought we just had one episode. That's the lead-in. We covered a few things, talking about looking at a book, talking about trading, talking about Microsoft, Apple. We're going to be looking at the stock market in general, the ES futures, the SPX, the S&P 500. We're going to be looking at QQQ, SQQQ, TM, I believe KMI. Let's take a look. We're going to go back and look at CRM, PayPal, ZM, Zoom. We're going to take a look at JP Morgan, WFC and C. Maybe we'll look at TGT and BUD, PARA. Maybe we'll pull up some Teleray on the side. We're going to be looking at a few other stocks. Maybe we'll pull up our old friend A or AA. Don't know if it's AAA. We're going to go back looking at YY. There's a YYY, DDD, restorative hardware. We're going to look at CMG. We're going to look at, we done said PayPal, so we're going to be looking at, maybe we'll pull up some eBay. We're going to be looking at Visa. We're going to be looking at MasterCard. We're going to be looking at American Express. And let's further ado, there's a few more Boeing and this shit, AMD and Meta. And we're going to throw this in the mix. Let's get started without further ado. Going to make this quick and painless for me and for you. Go ahead and get the symbols loaded. Let's go ahead and go full screen on this chart here. And we're going to be ready to move. Let's go ahead. I got Microsoft recently just had a move up, $350, brought it down to $213.50, bounced back up, $350 again. As a surprise, you had one attempt there on June, second attempt, same results here. They pulled off that 350 level back in June. They did the same today, 351.43. Did we see what kind of options that Microsoft would have been paying today? This would have been on the 347.5 puts on Microsoft. Had you had these puts on Microsoft today, they went from a low of 22 cents, made a brief move up. $1. Most people are going to take it out. You got to try and get back in if you're going to do it. You get out, you got to try and get back in. Maybe it's the only trade you do is that one. And you're done. You're like, I had 10 contracts. Went from $800. Maybe that's what happened. You keep following it up, you get up to 300, but you would have to take that move to this move, back to 82. Most people aren't going to do that. And then you could route it up to 218. But then you had to come back in to $1. So it starts each time you're looking at the levels, higher buying it, becomes less attractive. It's better to get in some of these or some of these scalps and be out. Not sure who's actually holding all the way up for like this shit here. But they really started dropping out of that shit, didn't they? The 2,000 contracts went out up here. They were buying earlier in the day. Boom. Waited around. They were buying that shit up here even. For 90 cents. That's what made it go to 230. And then finally it went back towards later in the day. But, yeah, that's what they were doing in that Microsoft. Let's go ahead and we've already covered Apple a while ago. Let's look at it one more time here while we're in looking at these things. And Apple had the move today from 190.03, dropped slightly below it down to 189.78. Pushed up on the opening range. You had a level 190 up to 190.10 to 191.01. Came up, broke through the opening range, pulled back down, went back up into the range and played back out midway between. Nothing crazy. CRM, people was looking at CRM this week. don't get caught in playing this shit. I'm just covering it. People like this shit. Okay? Nothing too serious here. We had a 30-minute chart. We're going to have a 15-minute chart here as well. CRM was a 208 early in the week. Went to 232. That was on Monday. This is up to Friday. It's playing up to this side. So went up, pulled back in, and you saw a level here at 222.32. Pulled back to 217.26. Ran up a few days. Went higher today and then finally sold back down. But it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, several sessions. And then when it breaks these levels of 225 and pull back to 222, it's sort of hard to hold that shit. So even on these, if you were in it, you got to get your pattern, play it again, pattern, play it again, pattern, Sam, pattern, Sam. So you got to play these patterns or you just don't play it. But if you're going to buy this shit and just hold it, you can do so, but you're doing that with short daters. You need to be playing around that either with futures. If you're going to be holding those options that long, you better be doing something right. So that's CRM. Now let's go ahead and move on to ETSY. It had a big move up this week. 84.82, had a high 95.99 the other day. Dropped back to 91.40. I was trying to play 92 putts yesterday. They actually let them play into the end of session, and we should have held again end of session, and they smashed them back down here to 91. I had them up here when it was about 94. Did not actually keep any of those 92s. You could have kept them for a rather cheap price here going into the Friday session here. Could have played a 5 or 10 of these up here, for instance, and could have got that move down to 91. You had the flush going into the end of the close yesterday as well, so you could have got rid of most of them and kept just a few in for that. Could have maybe got a few extra $100, maybe $300 or $400. Maybe more, depending on where you were playing at on Etsy. Let's go ahead and look at Snow. Etsy had that flush. Snow had a push up throughout the week. 175.71. Hit session 184 yesterday. 187.79. That was on Friday today. And then sold back down to 180. So I had a big drop. Let's look and see what happened on the options on Snow, shall we? Today, weekly. We don't necessarily want to get too hooked on these things. These are weekly options. I do not recommend them. They're not for the faint of heart. They're generally not for me. But you did have a move from 20 cents to 230 on the Snow putts. Maybe we've already looked at this a while ago. Looks sort of similar. Something else I saw. But you had you had to do that 20 cents to like $1.60, and you got to really go out. I mean, whatever this is what it is. You either get back in or you don't. You get this move. It comes up here. Even if you're at the 188, let's say you're up here at the 188 putts, for instance, the 187.5s. Let's say you were just up here screwing around and you got into a couple for like $1.50. Those you got the 575. That's it's like $800 if you had two of those. So something to keep in mind and keep an eye on where you're looking at getting into some of these things, and the kind of thing may show up in the options chains that may give you a slight advantage when you're looking to challenge the market in such a fashion. QQQ, pull it up without further ado. You had that rise up to this week, 370.04. Made a swift move up, pulled back down, tested that area again, had another session up, session low, went up too much, went up 382.72, pulled back in, and 381.83 happened there as well. pulled back in, and then had that move back to 378.20 to finish off the session. Let's see what kind of things were in store on the put side on the weekly QQQs. We're going to go out 2 or 3 weeks as well and see what happened. Let's say, just for instance, you're in the 381 QQQ putts. What kind of magic would you have scored? We're 41 cents. They went up to 280 later in the day. Again, you're probably not going to get that whole move like that. I mean, you're probably going to get some of this other shit. Maybe you got some shit like this one, went from 41 cents, and you got up to like $1.55, because most people aren't holding it. So you got from 41 cents to $1.50. So you got like $1, and you had like 10 of them. So say you're just stupid and you're down here playing with like 10 of them, and they push up, you get to like $1.50. I mean, you're like $1,000 in, $600 to $1,000 on something like that, and that's on QQQs. Let's say we're on the call side this morning on the QQQs, and you were playing the 379s on the Qs this morning, and it made it up here. Well, if you made it up to $4, it gapped up. You're $1.50, went from $1.50 up to $4 and down to nothing. So you can't have been screwing around with those. And if you were, that was the 379s. Let's take a look and see what the 380s might have done. I netted. Those were like at $1, went to $3, and the 381s. You're like 66 cents. They went to 232, and it had a big sell down here, like from there back down to 75. I went back up again. You could have played them a second time if you wanted, but you got to put more capital risk than risking here to anywhere in here versus here to here, because here could lead straight to here. And there's no guarantee you get a second show. Sometimes they do them up like this, and maybe you wanted to go the other side or direction. QQQ, that's that. Let's follow that by the NASDAQ. We're going to be looking at some other stocks here as well, and we're maybe not do all the ones that we talked about earlier. We're going to try and get pretty close though. And they did have this move 15.540, 15.612.28. So area 15.754.15, and it got this friction under 15.885, 15.857. We had an actual gray line here, the indicator, and it's getting too overbought. And then what they did sell it here, that was a trick sell where they sold it real quick. I think it was midday there. It was maybe right here. Yeah, and then they pushed it right back up and then sold it off again. Bought it up one more time and then sold it off again. So that's what we were looking at in terms of NASDAQ, and that in fact did play out. I didn't have a lot of videos this week, so I didn't have a lot of backstory. Didn't have a lot of energy there for a few days, and was unable to really do this. Had a few struggling days and a moderately bad day. Got to stop messing with weekly options and some of those crazy, popular hot stocks that are out there. Yeah, so anyways, we'll get away from ES futures. Had to move up to 4560.5. Next level is 4566. Normally you hit 4580. So it actually came back and gave that up. Normally you don't do that here at the 60 level. You can get a rejection at 50, but once it rejected 4560 half, hit 4550, push back through it, 4555.15, and then gave back 4550. This is not a very common move at this level, but it did happen, and it pulled back under 50. Once 50 gave way, then it came back in to the 45.35. But you got basically 45.60. You had this move, you're basically in the clear. You didn't have to play any of this stuff here. If you were in here towards any of this or that fake chop and got some, where it chop went down real quick earlier today, you already got that. You got a better indicator. They were going to sell it looking at the NASDAQ today. So we have ES futures. Then we're going to look at SPY. And we're not going to be too long. It's 15 minutes in. We had a push up, though, on SPY 43.673 here. Did push up, way up here, way up. And went to 451.36. Cleared through some of these things that I had. So it did go through. It went this level today, 451.36. It hit the gray line. So the gray line begot and then pulled back through and flushed out to the next gray line. So these gray lines do work on certain things better and more reliably than others. So this had the gray line up here, had the dot plus the gray line. Gave it back. Gave it back there. Gave it back. Let's take a look again on the 1 minute chart here and see exactly what happened. And that, I believe that was it here. No, that was it. No, that was it, right? 40.50 went down. Not sure if it was that one or this one. I think it was this one. Yeah, it was this one. And they just took it, and in 451 it went view real quick. And then they pulled it right back up and didn't give way until later in the day here. So they want to fake you out. Or you had your stop in, or you were lucky and you got out of it. Otherwise, you don't know once it goes against you like this that it's going to work at that. And the flush here, this was the flush. These were controlled moves. That was the flush. That was the flush. They showed you the flush. You had to be in, you had to be out, you had to be quick, and you had to be in somewhat size here. You get in here, it takes a while, you can get chopped out. So let's go ahead and look at WINN. Wynn Resorts got a heck of a flush today. Went from like 112.25 yesterday to 108.59. You're still on Wynn, this upper level. Where are they playing out here? About 110. So it's way out of hand, way out of control. Would not be too surprised for this to have another flush back down. 97 went to 110. Already came back here. I actually already had to 112. So already came back. You see some wind putts on flow. You may want to look at it, put it in your brain, put it in your memory. You're already looking at some of these things, and now you're going to see like PayPal had a big move this week, and it actually pushed all the way through and then came back. And had 59 level, came back and had this test here early in the week at the 66.37 level, and kept going from 66 all the way to 71 to 73, and they broke through those other 72.5 calls that were being bought a while back. So PayPal, ZM, same type of thing, had a big move, had a big run. They really went crazy on Zoom this week and had a push from 64.16 to 72, $8 run on Zoom. That's on a 4-hour chart, 15-hour chart Monday. Pushed up, drop, and then pushed up. Here's you'd had to been out. So you got a 2-day run if you wanted, or just even part of 1 day. You could have got back in here, but then they made it difficult there. And here they dumped it. So it was a push dump. So you had to be in really down here. You could have maybe handled some of that and they took you right up, and then boom. But I mean, it's not just, I don't know. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other things. I hate this stock. This stock cost me some money today. Should have saw it coming, to be fact with you. Maybe it was, no, it wasn't you. You, I had something on. I'm not sure what you was on. Maybe I had some putts today. Did I have some putts on you? I might have. Maybe I didn't. Let's go and take a look. No, we didn't have any putts on you. You had that big run up yesterday, pushed back up today, 48.10, and they flushed it. 48.10 flushed it back to 44. Let's go ahead and see what U has on it right now. The U at 45.5s. Let's say you're just in these earlier today. These were like 5 cents earlier, way early today on open. And with the 5 cents, you had to push up to 42. These are the ones that's hard. Even though they move, they'll push it like this and then give it all back to 10 cents, and then push it up again, pull it way back, and then they'll push it really hard. But I mean, it's hard to keep stepping in. You got to keep just retrading it. You got to put in some limits or something. I mean, this is the part you want. Or if you get lucky here, this stuff isn't easy because it pulls up to 71 cents and goes back down to 37. So even though it looks easy on a chart, it's like here, oh, here, oh, here, right? So there's some giveth and taketh there. I'm not going to cover a few stocks. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. We're getting a few earnings right now. I think I'm in KDP. I think this has earnings. When's KDP earnings at? KDP. KDP had earnings in 9 days. So now that I know what it is, I may get a couple more of these earnings in 9 days. We're about $200 in on this trade. KDP, this is Pepsi, whatever. Dr. Pepper, Keurig Dr. Pepper. So I'll probably get a few more of these. I'm going to keep them through earnings. I'm not concerned. It's made a drop here. Earnings getting on board right now. Could go either way. Most likely, time will show you that KDP, it may be going up. So it's been down there for some time now. So it's made that U loop going into earnings, and these are the $33 calls. They're not too bad. It goes up a little bit on these 33 calls, and again, this is KDP, 33 calls. Expiration is October the 20th, so you got yourself some time. October the 20th calls. I like this quite a bit. October 20th, 33s. So right here is where we're at. And those go up. I mean, this goes up $2. They're worth $100 a piece. So, I mean, you can have a few $100. You've got 2 or 3 of them. Now it goes up a lot. Let's say to here. Like $3. Then these instantly are $200 a piece. So if you got 3 of them, there's like $600 to $800. 3 or 4 of them, it's like $600 to $800. And this is symbol KDP. So keep that in mind. We'll see how these options trade. We're going to put that on green. Did I already put it on green? I might have. So, yeah. So, those are 45 cents. I got in them for much more than that. I didn't get in them. I was a late to the party guy here. I didn't get them at 45 cents yesterday, or 52 and 62. I'm right here, dead center, 75 cents. Now, if they drop, I'll go ahead and get one or two, maybe a couple more on Monday and see how that plays out. They had a drop and it closed, so they dropped actually 10 or 15 cents. A few people selling off was trading them. Anybody smart's holding these to earnings. Let's go ahead and see if we take it out here where these were at one time. At one time they were like $1.88. I mean, they could go up here to the all-time highs on this contract. Going earnings could go from 2 to 350. You just don't know. Good volume. Good volume. Real good volume. Real good. So I like that KDP. We got earnings this week. We had JP Morgan. I got some JP Morgan September 15th 160 calls today. JP Morgan. So we had some of the 160 calls. The 149s were on flow today, and boy did those do well. Now they didn't do so great because it came down here this morning, the putts, and people buying them, and then it went right against you from 149 to 152. That was painful. That was very painful. So you had to get out. You almost had to get out. If you were in, scalped it, you had to get out and just say hell with it. And then if it came back up again, you could try it again. But you got to do that 1-2. If you hold from here to here to here, it's so hard to hold once you get back into here. You're like, well, I'm screwed. I'm out. And then you don't get this. If you get most of this, you can hold and see if they do this shit. Even here, you don't really want more than that. I mean, 148.97 versus 148.44. You don't care about this shit. You just want this shit or this shit. So if you're looking at that, that's the only shit that you're looking for. You got Tesla coming in here in earnings this week as well. We're going to try and keep us under 30 minutes and hope everybody enjoys. Hope the microphones stay clear and steady for this episode here with Krusty Trades. Appreciate you listening. We'll start doing a podcast as well and have an audio stream. Like I said, it was an off week for me. Maybe it was an off week for you. Maybe it was a great week for you. Maybe whatever the case. Here we are, and this is where we're at right now. We had that push up on Tesla today. And they were buying some of this stuff this morning. They were buying two $85 calls when it was way down in here, and $9 away. And they actually went to go in the money. Let's go ahead and look and see what we got here. Tesla, 285 calls, and they came into play here earlier in the day. And that was like $1.88. Let's see, is this the right one? No, that should be the right one. The two, yeah, this is it. So it was in today, and they were playing with it down here at 15 cents, 20 cents. And they gave it a 60 or something. Depends on where you're at. Now, you may have gotten out here. Maybe you weren't very big or whatever the case. Maybe you didn't get this because it comes back in and then pulls back in again. So you get here, you don't want to pull back too much. And they pull it back again here from $1 to 60 to boom. So it's like, oops. So let's look. Tesla's got earnings here. There's some 230 calls that were placed out on it. Will it do something like that? Probably not. Can it do something like that? Yes. The difference. It drops anywhere. It drops like $50. Let's say Tesla drops $40 to $60. And you're in some QQQ putts. You're in some SQQ calls. It could be the play you've been waiting on. Got some JP Morgan calls. Right? So those are never a bad thing to have. Let's go ahead and take a look. In CRM, BILI. Let's call it BILI. We're not going to be able to do order flow tonight, but we will do just a couple. BILI had a recent sell down from like $28. This is back early in the year, down here to $15. And these are the BILI $28 calls for October the 20th. No coincidency, huh? So they're buying them here. Now, how far is he going to let it move before that? We don't know. This is BILI. Earnings is coming this week as well. No, this is on August the 31st, so you'd have to hold these for a little while. Maybe they go up a lot and you get out, whatever the case, who knows, before then. But it's got that double bottom that went in. They've sold it back off. They're buying $28 calls. Earnings in a month. These expire in October. So let's go ahead and look at that. We got KMI. It's a long episode here. KMI, Kinder and Morgan. They've got a chart. So just did one line. 1753. Takes them a while. They haven't been up much at all in some time. And we need to put a time frame. Let's go ahead and customize the list if you don't have it on here. Add the time frame. We're going to do daily, max available, and then monthly. Add that in. You've got a monthly thing now. So now you can go out and see it. One time it was. So, what are they getting resistance around here? It's Kinder Morgan. They're buying $18 calls for October the 18th. And they also bought 18 calls for September the 15th. Okay, so still not bad. TSM, now this went down. This wasn't a great day really to take this trade. Should have waited possibly a day or two. Down 25% on this. And they came up here. It looks like they were selling off right in that area, 105. So these are actually TSM 120 calls, and they're buying these for October the 18th, and their earnings is somewhere before then as well. We already have KDP. We're going to talk about that, and KMI, and ADM. This is one I'm most excited about right now, is ADM. ADM. So ADM recently had a boost up and it sold on from 80 down here to 78. Now what was happening is they were buying, the most interesting trade I see here in a while, they're buying these puts way down here to 60. These are ADM. I was up a little bit one time today, I think. ADM. These are, and I'll probably get a few more of these, by the way. These are the ADM $60 puts for September the 15th. Let's just get an idea if this were to drop that much. ADM September 15th, $60 putts. Let's just take a look here. So if these were 60 and these were 80, these are 80s right here. These are 360, right? 360 each. These now, you're getting them for like 15 cents. Is this right? $15 a piece. So you get like 10 or 20 of them. And if these hit, I mean, you could potentially be, if it really, really fell, I mean, $3 to $8 a piece with that velocity thrust up. And you get $8 a piece, $6 to $8 a piece on these. You're like, and you had 20 of them. You're talking like $12,000 profit you're walking away with ADM here. So, just something to keep in mind when you're looking at some of these. So when I see ADM, red flags go off, so try that son of a gun. TSM, JP Morgan, Bill I, Restorative Hardware, we got some shit there. They were buying September the 15th, January the 19th. January the 19th, 150 putts. And this is Restorative Hardware. Let me just tell you how crazy this play is. Keep it to earnings. I mean, Restorative Hardware was once 344, 7 something. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Who cares where it used to be? And right now, it's already made a big run, right? What happens to that piece of shit wherever it comes down here? Let's say you got the 150 putts for January the 19th, 2024. Let's just say you do. And your Restorative Hardware. And these are, again, the 150 for January. Yo, I hit the wrong button there. We're just getting part of Restorative Hardware. These are September 150 putts. Is this right? September Restorative Hardware? No, these are January 2024 putts for 150. January 2024 for 150, and don't pay any volume today. It's how ridiculous if they have when they have earnings. Restorative Hardware. Restorative Hardware has earnings in 30 days. Let's just say some shit hit the fan. And let's say you got a point move like this. It dropped like 60 to 70 points. Just for shits and giggles. Maybe these went up to like $5 to $9 a piece. We can get them right now for, where are they at right now on these? So on these, they're like 65 cents each. Maybe you can get them for 50 cents each. Maybe you get like $300 worth. That could be like 3 times 7. I mean, it could be like $2,100 to $4,500 profit on that. You know? So, I like Restorative Hardware right now. I like the ADM putt. I like the BILI calls, the TSM calls, the KDP especially on the call side for the colas. We're just going to be holding these through the earnings, let it do its job, and we're going to be trading around those this week with QQQ and SPY, possibly a few select stocks, and also the E-mini S&P micro futures. We're going to be doing micros for now. We're not on the minis yet. We don't have our head quite out of our ass enough. We kept this under 40 minutes. You have a great night. This, again, is Dave with Krusty Trades. Appreciate you listening. Have a great night and a weekend. I've got a book coming up very soon. Let's go ahead and read you the name of the book. Okay, the name of the book. Maybe it couldn't change. It can always is subject to change. So before we get too involved in this, let's go ahead and get the name of the book out of the way, shall we? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and see what the name of the book was, which again was Trading Success Starts with a Successful Routine. Very boring, very bland name. I guess it works. Okay, we're going to read a little bit of this. So, trading success starts with a successful routine. We're going to start with a prologue here and see where we make it from this point. Most common practices in a person's initial entry into the world of trading consist of staring blankly at charts, listening to all the popular financial news broadcasts, reading all the social media commentary, and endlessly filling oneself with all the things that are more confidence-breaking rather than building. Confidence in oneself to pursue and be successful in trading involves many factors of which not everyone will have, or many will never be able to attain. A true pessimist can see the worst in every situation, by a modernistic pessimist allows oneself to be consumed by constant worst-case scenarios, all the while perpetuating the very situation one has been forewarning oneself from the onset. One must create a team huddle with oneself and or others and make sure the game is being played with proper offensive and defensive strategies. To not have reliance on one side is to not have reliance on the other at all. Money is only what you take of it. Giving it back is a losing proposition, to say the very least. If you wish there was an easy way to overcome stubbornness, greed, anger, giddiness, and the need to gloat when one is right, then you would spend an endless vortex of time wrapped up inside your own demented vision of reality. Walls stitched together with nothing more than a few loose boards, and ceilings hanging on with nothing other than glue and gravity. When something shakes or the wind blows just right, the delicate construct that you call Tinseltown comes tumbling down in a mere minutes or hours. A rebuild again in the same manner will only result in the exact turn of events once again. Shall we take a look at how to build a proper frame and construct to build your confidence in, or are you chiding for a place to know oh so well? The desire to return here again is what keeps you here, and in a constant excitatory environment that you do not know how to exit, much less leave for a short amount of time. Let's explore concepts, constructs, and the very environment you immerse yourself in, as well as health and wellness routines and additional supplements can either do you a wonder of good or lead your destructive nature to the path of decline. Trust me when I say this, you do not want to go back down that road, and if you've been there, you definitely do not want to return, as the biofeedback of stress leads to its own life force, one which you have little control over once it's been primed. Chapter 1, Functional Dynamics as a Personal Psyops. Self-concerns and self-doubts are built into human nature, as animals do not suffer from these problems. They act and react to the stimuli around them in more than rational manners, and still yet we wonder what they do to become irrational at times. Is it us that need to study our environment closer so that we can view things clear, or do we also need to study how animals survive with no documented information of the world they live? They react as things come and recall parts later for future instances. Okay, we've got that part in that section, and lead in. Okay, how one dictates dialogue to oneself. When a person speaks to oneself, whether in actual dialogue, through thought, through listening to recordings, or through listening to help others speak of situations one was involved in, a person strives to keep a certain self-reflective When this activity fills on with negative motivations, the results can often be disastrous, especially in terms of profit and loss on a daily basis or weekly average. Sometimes that does not always show in the results is the road that was traveled, the acceleration of travels, and this continuation in this direction time after time again. One main perpetuation, only oneself for further self-destruction based on the vocabulary one uses when they are speaking of the desired trading results. Negative self-expression is at the cornerstone of self-adherence, yet is very destructive for self-actuation. When speaking to oneself in constructive sentences and constructive behavior, one always wants to lead with the hand that does the writing. Is this the way it should be, or should we use the weak hand to make our trading decisions? Should we be making the trading decisions with the strong hand enforcing the defensive activity? Do you put your most important assets in the strong hand or your weak hand? Your strong hand should be the one that helps you get out to help maintain the trade, and it helps hold and maintain and keeps yourself in a constant state of momentum, but a calm, full state of bliss. Returning from a state of productive behavior versus returning from a state of destructive behavior, and how one interprets these and how they construct and present them in their own actions and behaviors as when they are done trading is the key to their success. Success doesn't always happen just on the court. It's off the court as well, and many times this is much more important. Then what happens in trading is how we interpret and set ourselves up for the trade next day, the next week, for the next month. The charts we're looking at are not nearly as important as how we present ourselves and present our mentality and income to those around us and those who do not know what we do. Chapters. Okay, if you want to read through some of these chapters here with me, we've also got a new book that's going to be coming out shortly after this. So our chapters are pattern recognition and not patterning every candlestick. This will include things like counting candles on support resistance levels and trading pattern insubordination. Unusual option activity and using as a trading guide. Which recognition, nothing flow patterns, one-offs, and major hits explained. Weekly and daily options and pitfalls are short-dated options for wins and losses. This will be easy, quick wins, quick jackpots, and ill-fated account blowout. Using futures as your guide and key relating patterns and levels on E-mini S&P futures. This include QQQ, IWM, SPY, USO, GLD, and future equivalents. Setting up guides and levels on your charts. Broker considerations and commissions. Making the transition. Highs, lows, and middle ground, managing the stress, controlling your surroundings and your attitude, becoming one with your platform and knowing when different orders will benefit you, putting the brakes on your losers and knowing when to take short or extended breaks when performance suffers, how much time to take off and what to do, video learning with yourself to make the trades you see in your mind, leveraging without pain and gentle waiting in the pool, earnings and pitfalls, win big, lose large, putting it all together, cosmic alchemy and wishful ideations, and then finally, in completion of that, be future considerations. That's going to be the ideal of the book and the chapters and the lead-in and the first chapter start. See how we can get this dictated and this out to you if it's something you're interested in. We're in 48 minutes long. If you listen this whole time, I appreciate it. I appreciate everything everybody does. And gonna needs to have a few people that'll help me with some of the order flow, keeping in some of these things in the wraps, keeping updates on earnings, keeping updates on that's an earnings trade. That's got earnings on this. That's got, recognizing these things, looking at it, looking at the possible payouts, pulling up some charting payouts. I'm going to do the scanning. I need a few people to help me do some work. I can't do it all. So if you want to do it, doesn't matter if you trade or not. If you're good at keeping data and organizing and analyzing things, or just want to be, the documentation part, or have some other aspects for reminders, setting up alerts, setting up alarms, doing some of these things so we can get this better under control. I appreciate everything everybody does. You have a great afternoon and evening, and you enjoy yourself and your family or whatever you happen to be, wherever you're doing. Again, this is Dave with Krusty Trades, over and out. This is our special Friday night edition. We had some discos, we had some music, we had some songs going, and maybe not songs you know of, maybe not songs I know of. But I don't have to pay royalties on them, and they are royalty free. Did I tell you that? So that's all you need to know. I'm out of here, though. Again, it's Dave with Krusty Trades. Enjoy. What was the stock that I had trouble on today? Did I not mention it earlier? Did I skip by that part? Did I skim by that part? Did I try to walk out the door without putting my head in my ass just a little further? Restorative hardware. Give you the magic thing. What were we trading today? This AI bullshit. And add all these kind of big moves here, and it gets these things where it goes from like $16 to 40 and does this crazy bullshit. Well, it got resistance the other day, and I kept holding, thinking it would come back in here, and today it just flushed out from 37 here. Only $2 down, but it made that move back up to 41. It's almost a $5 flush if you were here, held some, and it came back where you got back in, and then Zook just flushed it, just absolutely flushed the living shit out of it. And I was long, I was buying calls, I was buying 40, 50s thinking we get that bounce. Didn't work. I was down here thinking we get some 39 action. Well, I got out before he hit this, but it held too far. We could have made some money back on this action here if we had not went too large. We got to stop trading this shit. Go out a week or two on Fridays or Thursdays. Pay up a little more money, make less profits, be safer, be more secure, trade your futures, trade SPY, QQQ out 2 to 5 days, and maybe your life will be a little simpler. We're over and out. Peace. Have a great evening and enjoy yourself. But that's some of the things we looked at, some of the things we're in, some of the earnings that are coming up, and we're gone.